Being able to land how we want to land and control how the bike lands can be really beneficial, and it can allow our suspension to work properly and actually absorb the impact of big drop-offs much easier. We've all had those sketchy moments out on the trail where maybe we were a little caught off guard, or we weren't exactly sure how high to lift the front end, or even how to lift the front end up on certain surfaces. I want to talk about dropping off of ledges, and in particular the ability to control the front wheel and how you land and where your body is when you land. So you'll notice a lot of the top pros are able to land on their rear wheel, land on both wheels, land on the front wheel in various different angles and degrees. Being able to have that really under control is really going to be helpful and get you through certain hard enduro and technical situations a little more safe, and of course a lot faster too. So I guess we could start with the question, is it better to land front wheel down or rear wheel down or both wheels? And how do we know when to do what? Now there's a lot of factors we should think about, but let's take a look back at this first video I showed you guys. Without getting too scientific about it, you can see that landing like that almost ripped the bars out of his hands. Sure, it's possible to land rear wheel down safely, and sometimes it's necessary, but landing front wheel down is a more effective approach to most of the undercut ledge drop-offs found on legitimate hard enduro courses or trails. So let's break down some of the technique and body movements involved in this move here. Watch how he drops his knees, the hips go forward, and then he throws the body weight back as he lets the clutch all the way out. Listen to his bike. You don't need a lot of power, but you do need some. Now I know the vet riders on Facebook are gonna hate this, but notice how he actually hit his front brake before he was off the ledge. Now that takes really precision timing and execution there, and it's not always necessary, but the fact that Matt was able to do that was really impressive. And I think it's a very useful skill, but you need to understand what kind of terrain you're on and how much momentum. There's a lot that goes into that one. It's pretty advanced. Notice the significant weight transfer from front to rear after he taps that front brake. That's going to put more traction to the rear wheel as you let the clutch all the way out and give you a better positive traction forward. Now let's take a look at a different approach here that's really effective and smooth, especially for this situation. Now take a look here at how Mitch Brightmore sort of lets the front end fall away from him a little bit earlier, so he doesn't get a lot of loft and he doesn't get going too fast as he drops down. He lands front wheel down, which makes the suspension settle very nicely in that particular run that he did there. And I actually thought that was one of the nicer runs of all these different clips from that section. And he doesn't try to compress the front end like Matt Green did. Instead, he takes more of a subtle approach by just starting with his body forward. Notice the moment he's fully on top of the rock, he brings his body forward until the front wheel is starting to fall off the ledge. Pretty hard to explain in some ways, and that's why you should always start small and get a feel with lower consequences. You're going to need a few fundamental basic skills before I recommend even trying to jump off of a ledge, so let's get into it. Just dropping the knees and having the hips come forward while applying both brakes, pulling the clutch in and keeping the bike running is a challenge enough, and something you should really have down on flat ground first. And we use this technique in this body movement a lot in hard enduro to initiate front fork compression and rebound, to assist the front end coming up, wheelies, all kinds of different areas. So this is a good skill to start with. Clutch pops and the ability to let the clutch out really fast definitely plays a role in ledge drop, and in many cases you'll need very small amounts of power, just basically breaking the back wheel loose or disengaging the clutch, letting the lever all the way out. Take a look at why we practice these drills on flat ground first. Notice any similarities? Notice I put myself into a little bit of trouble here, but imagine if I would have landed rear wheel down. That would have caused me to pick up more speed when I really needed to be slowing down. So front wheel down here actually allowed me to continue to control the bike. Especially for you more advanced technical trail riders and people wanting to better themselves in the hard enduro races, I think this is a really important skill to get down. For example, you can develop a lot of feel on a wall like this if you start to slow things down, and you can start to see what your bike is capable of and just how far and how tall of a ledge you can go off of. Now, of course, you want to start smaller, but me and Sam started practicing this and just seeing how slow we could go on this to the point where, we didn't want to hit our header pipe on the wall, but we wanted to see if we could go all the way over at like almost no speed.
Try to go slower. Try to go even slower off of it.
Off of it?
Yeah, just see, because you're actually like carrying your front wheel forward when you come down.
And I could just go straight off of it?
You could, like, you don't need to much to clear. Like, you could probably roll right off it and almost not hit your pipe. You barely need any input, I think.
Okay. Pull out of my skid plate?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Even slower, even slower.
Now we're just getting a little bit crazy here, but I don't think it's a bad thing to see what this feels like to ride off of something like that. Of course, you got to pop the front end up just a little bit so that you don't hit that pipe. I actually hit mine one time, sadly. But yeah, and then, you know, the coordination of just being able to get on the brakes real quick as soon as you get down. Now we started practicing some variations here, and Sam had some cool ideas to kind of try. And we're just trying to hone in, come up with some different ways of just learning control and developing composure on something that's not too dangerous. This is a pretty tall wall for the average rider. I'd say start quite a bit smaller than this, you know. You could just start with just literally one of those beams on flat ground, or set up something in that fashion.
And it's going to be hard to lift my front end up, of course, but I'm going to try to aid it as much as I can by pressing down on the forks first, and then I'm not going to try to spin my rear tire. I'm just going to engage the clutch with all my weight going to the pegs, and hopefully this goes okay.